has a copy of my speech up here, but I was still tinkering with it a little bit last night, so freshly printed pages. To this class of 2023, to the parents, to the loved ones, and to the faculty, it's such a privilege to be up here today representing the faculty and to speak to this really impressive group of young people and adults. But also, I'm honored, but slightly nervous. There's a lot of brain power in this room, so it's an intimidating audience. I also feel like it's fair payback. I mean, we've inflicted hundreds of hours of reading and writing assignments on you over the past 3 years, so to give me one high-stakes assignment of my own feels only fair. And as an English teacher, it feels fitting, almost obligatory, to start with some kind of connection to literature. So, in Macbeth, a play you all read, I certainly hope, in 7th grade, there's an often overlooked line. It's not famous, but it always gets to me. And we're at a moment in the play, it's like midway through roughly, where Macbeth has all the things he thought he wanted. He's king, just as the witches promised him. But there's a catch. Those same witches have told him that when he dies, it's not his kids, although he doesn't have kids, but it's his frenemy Banquo's sons who will inherit the throne. So Macbeth has, as he calls it, a fruitless crown. So Macbeth, sunk deep in paranoia and murderous revenge, seeks to thwart this prophecy. He hires 2 desperate and down-on-their-luck assassins to kill Banquo and Banquo's son, Fleance. But they bungle the job, and they kill only Banquo, and Fleance escapes. And that brings me to the quote that always stops me in my tracks, no matter how many times I've read it. The murderers have come to Macbeth's castle to report what happened. When they give them the news, Macbeth responds, "There comes my fit again. I had else been perfect, whole as the marble, founded as the rock, as broad and general as the casing air. But now I'm cabined, cribbed, confined, bound in to saucy doubts and fears." In other words, Macbeth had a plan. And for the remainder of this paragraph, just forget that plan is about murdering an innocent child. But the plan almost worked. But as he expresses so eloquently, something always goes awry. I had else been perfect, but instead I'm cabined, cribbed, confined. To Macbeth, the situation is dichotomous. Plans in life either go perfectly, or they're a disaster. Now, thankfully, I've never been in a situation comparable to Macbeth's here, Mr. Grover. There's no hiring of contract killers in my past, I assure you. But I felt that sentiment so many times. I had else been perfect. If I were healthier, if I lived closer to my family, if I got a little more sleep, if I didn't have quite so many papers to grade, as much as I do love reading what you all have to say. Macbeth's words can become a habitual way of seeing the world. Things are almost right, just not quite. Maybe you wanted to get into a different high school, or you're dealing with a complicated friendship, or you want to be a little better at piano or basketball or painting or any number of things. Whatever it is, you're imagining some other you. You long to feel, as Macbeth describes, cold as the marble, bounded as the rock. And this feeling is incredibly normal, and if you're like me, you're going to feel some version of it for most of your life. But the other lesson that Macbeth and Lady Macbeth have to teach us is that even getting what we want rarely feels like what we expect it to feel like. Being the king and queen sounded great, sure, but as the play progresses, the throne only seems worthwhile if their unborn children can inherit it. The goalposts just keep moving. In our own lives, if we're not careful, the things we think we want can quickly turn empty and hollow, and satisfaction may not last as long as we'd imagined. We reach our goals, and the other wants just rush in and fill that void. And to make things worse, it's very easy to look at people around us and see only their visible success and assume they've figured out things that we haven't. We don't realize that they're probably feeling some version of this same thing about us, about their own lives. And in 2023, this is even more complicated because we carry social comparison with us in our pockets everywhere. And while social media is capitalized on that psychology of human comparison, it's always been there. There's a profound saying that says, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides. So here we are. It's this special day with the people who've loved and supported you, and I've brought you to this disheartening and depressing place, suggesting that nothing will feel all that good and you're bound to be perpetually unsatisfied. I think I've told the class that I listened to a ton of emo music in the 90s and 2000s. And if I'm really being honest, I guess I still do, like Phoebe Bridgers and stuff, so I'm still there. So I hope you're not regretting your choice of speaker, but I'm not going to leave you here. There's more to this story. If we're destined to feel this way, that things are not exactly how we want them to be, then we can reject Macbeth's dichotomy. Perhaps we can accept both life's imperfections and its unexpected gifts. We can focus on the 90% of things we like about ourselves instead of the ever-changing, ever-unpredictable 10% of things we wish were different. We can learn and try and fail. And we can stop waiting for that mythical moment when everything clicks magically into place. The fantasy of reaching the perfect destination is just that, a fantasy. Recently, I read an incredible nonfiction book called 4,000 Weeks by a journalist named Oliver Burkeman. And that title refers to the amount of time we're each given in a statistically average lifespan. To contextualize that number, you can think of it as roughly 1/3 the number of career points that Nikola Jokic has scored in his astonishing career with the NBA champion Denver Nuggets. But if that doesn't work, if that's not a great way to think of it, just think of it as 77 years. It's not that much time, right? A week can go by so fast. So 8th graders, where have you spent some of your 4,000 weeks? You've already spent 2,500th of that time in Costa Rica. You've spent roughly 110 weeks in middle school, and if you've been here since JK, that's closer to 1/10. So 1/40th if it's just middle school, and it's close to 1/10 if you've been here since JK. You've already lived between 675 and 750 of that week allotment. I know it's weird to reduce our lives to these fractions, but I think it's empowering to think of time this way. For one, it reminds us very clearly that life is finite. And in such a short span, so many of you have already achieved incredible, mind-blowing things. I have no doubt that there's going to be so many more to come, and I'm incredibly grateful I got to share 1/40th of my estimated weeks with all of you. That said, I'm kind of hoping I outperform those life expectancy numbers, and I know I had a bunch of conversations in Costa Rica, some maybe that you didn't want to have about the health benefits of a plant-based diet. So. But what happens to our finite allotment of days and weeks if we view time merely as an instrument to use, to take advantage of, and to produce? Well, then I think we're missing the point. Just think back to how you felt during your beach solo in Costa Rica. The time was yours. You were on this pristine beach. No one was demanding anything of you other than to be and to exist. Now, practically, we can't live that way all of the time, but I think we can live that way more of the time. Reading Berkman's book, I was stunned by this paragraph. The day will never arrive when you finally have everything under control, when the fully optimized person you've become can turn at long last to the things life is really supposed to be about. Let's start by admitting defeat. None of this is ever going to happen. But you know what? That's excellent news. And it's excellent news because it opens up expansive new possibilities for us, but especially for you, graduates, and the new adventures you'll begin as you leave Meadowbrook. There's always going to be more to do, and we just need to accept that truth. Time is the most limited resource we possess as human beings, and none of us want to end up like Macbeth, and not just like the decapitation part, but his unchecked desire, his disease of wanting more and more, and his inability to be satisfied no matter how wealthy and powerful he becomes. Time's never wasted if it's spent with people you love doing things that you love. It's not wasted when you're reading a great book, or petting your dog, or watching a captivating movie, or looking at the night sky. And it's certainly not wasted any time you gather a community with one another. These pursuits are as fully worthy and deserving of our time as finishing the next assignment or getting one more thing done. As I said, there's always going to be more to do. But also, that fact shouldn't be an excuse for apathy or middling effort. Please set forth with your tenacious energy, your idealism, your brilliance, and your creativity. Take on the countless things you want to do and the things that this world desperately needs. There's so much work to do, and you're the right people to do it. We need your contributions, your brainpower, and your efforts. So yes, please set goals, accomplish awesome things, and take on the world with passion and perseverance. But as you're working and striving, keep in mind that many of life's problems are here to stay. Every once in a while, you might get those whole as the marble, founded as the rock moments, and that's wonderful. So embrace them, but understand that they're fleeting. Sometimes the most best thing you can do for yourself is to pause, to recharge, to be with friends and family, to prioritize sleep and movement, to eat a good meal, to laugh, and to put something off for another day. It's going to be there waiting for you when you're ready. The South African bishop and anti-apartheid activist Desmond Tutu, who accomplished more in his 4,000 weeks than most people would in 100,000, famously said, "Discovering more joy does not save us from the inevitability of hardship and heartbreak. In fact, we may cry more easily, but we'll laugh more easily too. Perhaps we're just more alive." And that's my most sincere wish for all of you, to do things in work and in life that matter and to do them with joy. Don't end up like Macbeth, friendless, joyless, and cut off from the world. It's been really hard to give this speech, mostly because it sort of signals saying goodbye to a group of people I love. This group is truly special, and we hope your class bond holds forever. Know that you can always, always come back to Meadowbrook. You might not be enrolled, but this is still your gym, still your hallway, still your classroom, still your lunchroom, still your fields. I don't think I can promise you the forum. You're going to have to take that up with the new 8th grade. But if you happen to be in the forum, please stop by room 108. It would absolutely make my day. And I know that the rest of the faculty feels the same. Thank you for making our job so meaningful and full of joy. We're so incredibly proud of you. Thank you.